So Bravely Default 2 is a Nintendo Switch game. It is, weirdly enough, the third entry in the Bravely series, because you have Bravely Default, then you have Bravery Second, and then you have Bravely Default 2. Don't ask me, that's just confusing as hell. Came out, I believe, 2 years ago now, or maybe a year ago now, I want to say. And basically the premise is save the continent of Alexis, I guess, with the help of with the new heroes of light. Follow the story of a young sailor named Seth as he sets out on a grand adventure and meets plenty of friends and foes along the way. So you have Seth, that's a young sailor. He's unknown that crashes on the continent. Then he meets a princess named Gloria. She's the princess of a lost kingdom. Followed by Elvis, a traveling scholar, and then lastly Adele, a mercenary that's hired as Elvis's bodyguard. So this is a typical RPG game, old school RPG game. 4 heroes dedicated to save the world. And a Final Fantasy term, they're involved with crystals. Crystals is just Final Fantasy's trope for everything. You know it's a Final Fantasy or in the realm when there's a crystal involved. Always. I mean, hell, back in the old days, there were crystals in their titles. In their
Crystal Chronicles. The best game ever.
Yeah, you hold on to that. But no, that was a lot of money I spent on for no reason. Anyways, who wants to hold a bucket? Anyways, so I enjoyed this game. The interesting part about it is it's a typical adventure, but I was there for the characters. I like Seth, Gloria, Elvis, and Adele because they had interesting stories on the journey, and it felt like for each chapter, which there's only like 5, but they're very long chapters. It's almost like it's like each one is about like 5 or 6 hours long per se, but for each chapter you're learning more about these characters, except for Seth. You don't really learn anything about Seth, and I think that's the most disappointing thing about this game, because Seth is just like the most least interesting person to me, but everybody else is awesome. I like Gloria, I like Elvis, especially Adele. Adele was my favorite character of all. She was just very spunky. She was very, very like humble. She was just very just mysterious and fun in her way. I stayed for her. And then it was Elvis. And then I like some of the characters. Now, I will say one of the things that is interesting is the game feels like a play to me, because when it came to conversations, all the characters were kind of like on one side, you have your protagonist on one side, your antagonist on the other side. And when they have discussions, it just feels like a play. They're like being set for them, and the characters look very puppet-like as they go, especially like with the high definition. Yeah, they look very, very puppeteer per se and everything like that. But I still kind of liked it. It had a bit of a charm. It took a minute to get used to, but I started liking it. And especially when they fight, the way they fight, it feels like they're like dolls, because they're just like slashing very fast and all that kind of stuff. But this story takes you to, your cliche stuff, the desert, the forests, your volcanic places, and then of course like an end of the world kind of thing and whatnot. And so
like there always is.
Yeah, but with these type of games like Final Fantasy or old school games that involve saving the world, you're there for the characters. And so if for you, if you don't like the characters, you're probably not going to enjoy this game as much as you want to, because they're the ticket to enjoying this game for what it is. And then when it comes to the battle system is very interesting because it's a turn-based, but with a little bit of a twist where you get more control of how you want to do your attacks. Either you want to save it all, or you want to risk it all. And so what that means is, in a just more of a easier way to put it, is when you start the game, you can choose to go brave, which the game is called Bravely Default. Bravery means taking a chance. Default means being safe. And when you want to go bravery, you're welcome to take the chance of 3 times in the game, like 3 turns ahead of time. And when you attack that at that time, you have to wait to your 3 rounds for your turns to get back to normal, where you can attack again. Or you can go the other way, default, where you can guard until you max out your turns that you want to attack in a row. So it's very interesting risk or take depending on the situation, and I kind of liked it for that. And I also like the way they do the class system, which you're a big fan of the class systems.
Yeah, the jobs. Yeah.
The jobs that you can pick, and it's cool that everybody can be whatever they want with the set of moves. And the cool part about this game, I think they definitely got it from Final Fantasy 12, in my opinion, where you can have 2 jobs at the same time, and you can switch them up any way you want, where you can have your main job, and then your second job is your secondary, so you can have a set of 2 different moves in your group. And it's really cool because you can work on your build for your team of which ones who you want to do with this and that. So
like you have a white mage and a black mage. You can have a white mage primary who heals, but also can do like fire spells or whatever as well. So he could be like the battle mage, or you can have a mage slash, like, I don't forget what all the classes were. Say you had a mage versus like with a warrior or whatever. So now you got a guy who can shoot magic and swing a sword pretty hard. So you can actually do builds, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, I think the biggest, coolest part about it is, which I think more RPG games should definitely do this, and I think there's some RPG games that do that. I like that if you accomplish to level it up to the max, you get a reward for it. I like that. So, for instance, one of my favorite things was the Red Mage. And Red Mage is awesome because if you max that out, the bonus you get is you can attack twice every time you attack. So for instance, for example, is if you want to attack a person 3 times, you actually get attacked 6 times because each attack sounds double. And that's awesome. And it works with any magic, really. So if you're a Red Mage, here's the part too I forgot, is it only activates if you use that as your main outfit. So you can't just be you can't have a Red Mage as your secondary. It won't activate. You have to be a Red Mage as your main one. Yeah. So if you want to be a White Mage as your second one and use White Mage magic, you can heal yourself twice. That's awesome. Or if you're a Black Mage, you can set fire twice. You can do all this twice in the magic terms. So I like that for that type of way. And so now I didn't beat this game because it did something at the end that turns me off to a lot of games, and I call it a reunion. And what that means is that you're basically kind of like in Mega Man. You beat all the 8 robots, and then when you get to the end, it's a reunion. You're going to beat all 8 of them again before you move on to the final thing. And this is what happens at the end for me. You're basically going through 8 rounds with these beasts per se, and it's really just pushing your skills to the test and everything like that. But it was a bit of a turn off for me because it's like I worked really hard to get to this boss, and I don't want to go 8 freaking rounds before I get to this boss again. And I think one of the things that can turn a lot of people off is the grindiness. The game can be very grindy.
The commonly used phrase for that is boss rush. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of boss. I guess the reason why I didn't say boss rush because you're not revisiting the same bosses again. And
no, it's just a gauntlet. So it'd be more like say you're fighting a boss and they always send their little underlings after you, and then you can't hit the boss. Like some games are like that. I can't stand it. It's like if your boss has to use like say basic enemies. Say you're fighting Koopa and he throws like a bunch of turtles at you. If your boss has to rely on turtles to help, your boss is a bad design. Like I should be focusing on him completely. And I guess you could look at it like that. Like why can't I just fight the last boss but make him difficult enough that I don't need to fight 8 bosses before I get
to him? I agree. It almost a little bit reminds me a little bit of Final Fantasy X, where you have to go through that spiral of characters before you even get to Jet. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not as bad as that one.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking
It's just time consuming. I think that's the point. And I knew going in the Bravely Default is grindy. I know about that. But this was a little bit over the top because you grind so much to get to that point. And it's like, can you just let me fight the final boss? I work hard enough to get here. And it just kind of...
Let me have this.
Yeah, just let me have it. So... But do I recommend it at the end of the day? Yeah, I do recommend it. It's still a great game. If you like the grindiness and this is for you and you enjoyed the characters, I say go all the way. But for me, I guess I'm at my age or as a gamer for playing games so long, I feel like it just took too much of my time and I kind of just wanted to move on. So I enjoyed the journey that I had there. I love all the characters, but that last part just turned me off.